Hi, I'm Alice Cloak. I'm the Senior Content Manager at Swisse, and this is my Here Life Comes story. I didn't think I would be, but I do feel a little bit nervous. I mean, my job is to tell stories for a brand, so it is a very new experience to tell my story in a nutshell. That's the uncomfortable bit. So I grew up in Cleveland, Bayside, Brisbane. I actually did an international business and marketing degree and was staring straight down the barrel of being in supply chain logistics. I had all my experience through uni was in that area, and then just felt like content and marketing was way more for me. I was really interested in seeing how I could use mediums like social media, which were just coming up at the time, to storytell. I followed that path, which has led me professionally to where I am today. But actually at the time that I graduated, so around 21, I was way more obsessed with travel. That was all I cared about. I just wanted to travel all the time. I backpacked America, backpacked Europe, and then decided that I wanted to go and live in London for a couple of years, and I did, and had the greatest time of my life. I was hitting London pretty hard. I was working a lot. So it was just really high energy, and I had the energy for it. You know, I was running around, but yeah, about a year in, I started to experience symptoms now that I would recognize as being related to Crohn's. And I was in hospital for about 3.5 weeks as I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. That directed my life for the next 9 years and beyond. You know, that was a significant moment in my life that changed everything, really. It changed my trajectory, it changed my values. It was a big life moment. Yeah, I had never heard of Crohn's before in my life. And when they said I had Crohn's, I was like, great, okay, let me Google that, because I had no idea what it was. But Crohn's is an autoimmune disorder under the umbrella of inflammatory bowel disease, so it's an inflammation. Because it's an autoimmune disorder, it's basically your immune system fighting something it thinks it has. It's not a very glamorous disease. You do have diarrhea in the acute stages of Crohn's disease, and the effects from there are quite serious. Like, I'd gotten to the point where I couldn't walk, incredibly nauseous, I couldn't function. Everything had to stop, and it was 3.5 weeks that I was in hospital for. I was kind of bedridden. I was malnutrition, so I lost a lot of weight. But also physically, what was strange for me was that in Crohn's and in a flare-up, they give you steroids as the way to control the inflammation. And steroids retain water in your body. So though I was a skeletal frame, I was holding water weight around my face, around my stomach. And just that physical change meant that I didn't really recognize who I was physically. I didn't recognize myself in the mirror. And that was quite strange. You just have a trickle on of effects when you're in a very, very acute stage, or flare-up is what they call them. So Crohn's is an autoimmune disorder, which means it's incurable. Once you are diagnosed, you have to manage throughout your life. At the time that I was diagnosed with Crohn's, I was 22, turning 23. My whole adult life, I had been focused on travel. That's all I cared about. But being diagnosed with Crohn's, number one, it's very hard to manage. Number two, you have to have really good hospital support. So you have to make sure you're choosing countries that have good hospital care, but also that you've got the right insurance for that hospital care if you need it. But the largest thing of all is that I was now on this 8-week infusion, which meant that any of these dreams that I now had, they had to sort of be funneled down into where can I actually travel, how long can I actually travel for, and am I well enough to travel? And so these freedoms, I had every freedom in the world at 22, and then from 23, it was narrowed significantly. In terms of managing Crohn's, they talk about diet as being a big one. Then there was more holistic factors, so like sleep, mental health, etc. So it took about 2 years of intense learning/experience to even get a handle on my Crohn's and begin the work towards remission. In that 2 years, there was lots of trials and errors. There was a lot of sickness. But after that, I could start to build in my learnings and make them habits. So 9 years on, I am officially in remission from my Crohn's disease. Most days I'm not even reminded that I have an autoimmune disorder. I don't have any symptoms. I don't have any pain. I don't take any sick days related to my disease. I have very good health, very good immunity. To work the way that I can work now is really quite a blessing, actually. I work for Swisse and I work in content, and that does mean, you'll do shoot days that are long and hard. We went to Paris and we were there shooting for 3 weeks. Every day was early mornings, late nights, strange times, and I could keep up. That's kind of what life looks like now. It's not hindered by having Crohn's or having to manage Crohn's. I can do my job and I can do it to the best of my abilities, and then I have energy to look after our little puppy dog, renovate the house that we bought, and garden and do things that I really love and enjoy. So yeah, that's what life looks like now. There are so many lessons that I'm very, very grateful for Crohn's having given me. I'm acutely aware of my body. I'm very, very observant of when I'm tired, when I need to rest. I'm compassionate with my body as well, which I think is a really big thing. I feel really grateful that I can be on the other side and talk that way, but I know a lot of people in my life who've had a lot more challenges with it. So I suppose there's that part of being hopeful, but also noting that everyone's journey is different. I think the advice that I would have for anyone facing a life challenge similar to the one I faced was to be really compassionate with yourself and patient with your slow and steady progress.